Hi everyone, welcome back to the 17 in 17 books we are reading, reviewing, and resourcing this year. I just graduated from college and I took a little break from making videos, but I did not take a break from reading, and now we are back with Americana by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. You know, I knew about the author previously because Beyonce had sampled some of her work in her feminist movements and efforts, and I recognized the name. I heard she was an amazing author and I was like, hey, I'm right in it. So that is how Americana landed in my hands. My first impression of the book was that it was much different from what I thought it would be. It's actually a love story with some other elements of history and race and gender and class. But most of all, it is a story about two people, a man and a woman from Nigeria, and their travels through America, through their idea and then experience of what America will be and what it turns out to be, and then how their love story takes them apart from each other and brings them back to each other in this pursuit of being an Americana. So what it means to be an Americana in this book is someone who is not from America, but then goes to America and adopts the ways of Americans or adopts some elements of American culture. And then when they come back to their hometown or homeland, in this case, Nigeria, West Africa, they are then labeled an Americana. So the main character of the book, her name is Infemelu, and the boy's name, or the male character, his name is Obinze. And basically the plot of the story is what happens when they fall in love in Nigeria and go their separate ways after college, and their experience thereafter to become American, to become citizens for a better life. The setting is not only in Nigeria, but it takes place in London, England, as well as Philadelphia, Baltimore, New York, New Haven, Connecticut, and Princeton, New Jersey. So Infemelu, her journey is across the up and down the East Coast, the northern eastern part of the United States. And Obinze, his journey is more around traveling to London and then traveling back to Nigeria. So the story is told in parts based on the different sections or chapters of their life. At the beginning of the story, they are in early high school, so they're about 14 and 15, and when it ends, they're about 35. So it tells the story of this 20-year experience. Most of the time, they're actually not together, but it is their love that brings them back to each other at the end of the book. I don't want to give away too much, and it's not even really one of those stories where you can give away too much, because as you can see, it is very, very long. So the book itself isn't something that you can describe in like a sentence or a paragraph, as much as I can just highlight some of the elements in this book. So Infemelu, she is a blogger, and what Adichie does in this story is she uses Infemelu's blog posts as a way to summarize the experience that she is having in America as an Americana. So a little bit of the story is in this blog form where we're reading Infemelu's experiences through her dating a white guy and being African, through her dating an African American and being African, through her making mistakes and making decisions based on what she doesn't know about race or class or gender in America, based off of her experiences in Nigeria, and then how she uses that knowledge to lead her in her pursuit of success or pursuit of happiness while she's in America. Obinze's story is told differently because he's not a blogger, so we don't have those same blog posts, but his story is about his journey to wanting to become a citizen of America, wanting to have a better life that Infemelu is fortunate enough to get. So while she goes to America and she lives this life, he actually never makes it to America. But his story is equally as interesting, as it talks about what he has to go through, what a lot of people have to go through when they immigrate to a country and are trying to get visa status, trying to get citizenship, and all of the trials and tribulations that they might experience. Obinze goes through in his pursuit to become an Americana. The book was most interesting to me because it had so many elements of politics and American standards and American society and infrastructure that, being a Nigerian woman, Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie must have had to really do her research, which was probably on the field research on the ground, in order to have these experiences. I'm assuming that she came to America and lived some of her life in America in order to tell the story of what it means to be an Americana. She talks about what it means to be misunderstood as an African living in an African American society, what it means to be misunderstood as a woman living in a male society or working in a male dominated workspace. She talks about what it means to be an immigrant, what it means to live in a place where you're not from and have to deal with all of the confusion that nobody's really walking you through, nobody's really holding your hand to teach you these things, as much as you're just expected to fall into line and to understand that. She tells the story as if she has experienced it herself, and especially when it comes to the debates, the dynamics between different people who have different opinions about what it means to be American, what our duty is as American citizens, what our rights are as American citizens. And she interferes by saying that really there's no right answer. Really, we don't have one idea of what it means to be American. We don't have one idea of what it means to be Black in America or to be an immigrant, because our experiences are so unique to us, and our experiences are so shaped by our circumstances. The writing style of Americana is very interesting. I think that Adichie, I think that there's a lot of run-on sentences in this book. I think that some of her sentence structure is a little confusing, and it definitely takes patience, not only because the book is large, 588 pages, but it's also, her writing style is not what I would say the most smooth or most clear. But my favorite thing about Americana, my favorite thing about this book was how many words I had never heard of before that I was forced to look up and Google and say, well, what does that word mean, in order for me to tell the story. I thought it was so interesting how much she included this really advanced vocab as a way to not only describe the knowledge background of Mfumelu and Obenzi, but as a way to show off her writing skills as an author. So I was definitely impressed with that. No elements of surprise in the story. I think that for the most part, it's a really, really good read. It's a strong read. I think that there's not one thing that happens that's so like, boom, that was crazy, as much as it all is just a very interesting story of two people and, you know, what their lives are like in their pursuit to be American, in their pursuit to become Americanas. I think this story is profound and meaningful because Adichie, she is really telling a narrative that hasn't really been told before. You know, we have the immigrant stories, we know what it's like to come to America and to experience a language barrier or, you know, lack of cultural competency. We've heard that before, but we haven't really heard the story of what it means to be an African in America, and to have an African/African American experience as a woman in a country that receives you and doesn't at the same time, you know, that welcomes you and rejects you simultaneously. So I think this can give us insight on where we are in our lives, primarily by teaching us about self-acceptance, by teaching us about returning home, the power of returning home, the journey and going back to where you've come from, Sankofa, returning to the source to retrieve what you have lost, as Mfumelu does in this story. And I think that what we can most gain from this book is an idea about not only what it means to be American, or what it means to to be an Americana, but what it means to be a human being in a world where you are trying to define yourself. You're trying to figure out who you are and what your purpose is, and you're trying to give your life meaning. If you want to connect to Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie's Americana, you can find this book at your local library. I actually bought mine from a bookstore. It's on Amazon, of course, and anywhere like that. Thank you so much for watching. See you soon.